In the summer of 1938, a determined salesperson visited a haunted house to sell his vibrationless, noiseless vacuum, which doubled as a wonderful time and a back-saver that no well-appointed home should be without. The author received $85 for a single-panel cartoon on page 9 of The New Yorker. It introduced the world to an unknown brute who will return to the big screen. The Addams Family is returning this time as a Riverdale-esque version in its form of TV series called Wednesday for young fans, seeing them for the first time, and the old-timers who remember the original TV show received in the warped imagination of creator Charles Addams. The family has established itself in the mausoleum of mainstream horror cultural history over their different forms, which is weird in and of itself. Unlike Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, or any of the machete-wielding madmen at the cinema, the Addams Family has proven to be both tough to forget and as difficult to bring back to life.
How do you want to be remembered? I suppose to be remembered as a good cartoonist.
It seems to reason that the man behind the family, Charles Addams, was a tortured guy who took his misery to the pages of The New Yorker. But in truth, Addams was born in 1912 in Westfield, New Jersey, as the only child of dedicated parents. Charles was renowned as a mischief who enjoyed a good joke, his favorite being scaring his grandma by jumping out of his house dumbwaiter. It would have been more fascinating, maybe, if I had a horrific childhood, chained to an iron bed, and tossed a can at Alpo every day. But I'm one of those unusual people that had a good upbringing. What Addams always had was a penchant for the macabre. Whether it was touring graveyards, trespassing in an abandoned neighborhood Victorian home, Addams discovered illustration in high school and enrolled in New York City's Grand Center School of Art. While still a student, he sold his first cartoon to the New Yorker in 1932, a sketch of a widow washer for $750. Apparently, Addams was one of those unusual people who earned a career in the arts his whole life. He stayed with the New Yorker to the end, and it provided him with very cultured experience. He wasn't filthy rich, but he had an apartment overlooking the MoMA, drove a Bugatti and a Bentley, dated Jackie Kennedy not long after the incident, and was constantly on everyone's dinner party guest list. Throughout his career, Addams illustrated for a number of periodicals, including Collier's and TV Guide, and also restored crime scene images for True Detectives for a while. Basically, he was living everyone's dream. But the New Yorker was also his first priority, especially after his 1940 classic, The Downhill Skier, catapulted him to fame, and it was on the august pages of that journal that he introduced to the unconventional people who share his surname. Despite the fact that the Addams Family accounted for just a small portion of his production, only 58 of Charles Addams's 1,300 New Yorker drawings, virtually all from 1940s to 1950s, portrayed the nameless family who remained unknown until about the time that the television program began. Dear Dead Days, a family album, Addams' iconic 1959 collection, contains the basic 6 characters, although the television patriarch's name of Gomez didn't appear until the actor John Austin represented him, much to Addams' dismay, who preferred Repelli, a play on repellent. A couple of brilliant names we know and love, Morticia, who resembled all 3 of Addams' real-life wives, and Wednesday were inspired by Monday's Child, is one of many fortune-telling songs that it says,
"Her name comes from a line from my favorite nursery rhyme. Wednesday's child is full of woe."
60s television show debuted on ABC on Friday, September 18, 1964. The Addams Family premiered during the golden period of low-brow comedies like My Mother, The Car, but in specific sense, the program was a direct response to planned CBS comedy, The Munsters. Both series had some of the same eerie vibe, but the Addams Family has something its spiritual twin couldn't match: the original comics themselves, even if there were no fresh ones to draw from. The Addams Family was not your usual fish out of water comedic setup. It was the inverse, a self-contained house of horrors where normal people were the outsiders, allowing for all sorts of off-kilter jokes, insane plots, and risque, pulsating relationship at the heart of the show. Nat Perrin, a humorous writer slash director slash series producer, deserves a lot of credit to the Addams Family's television world. In the Addams Family, he offered fast-talking nuttiness. Cousin It, The Thing were given considerable screen time because the gloom was toned down and the zaniness was portrayed to the fullest. About the TV show, Charles was up and down. He obviously loved what the Addams Family accomplished for his earnings, but he said that the characters were half as horrible. Because Addams Family was essentially a live-action cartoon, the program could depict a husband and wife who have a deep and burning love for one another. Gomez was smitten by Morticia's seductive sensuality, kissing her up and down in her arms and exchanging smoldering looks. They're often regarded as the first television pair to portray an active sex life. It's a type of playful romance between Gomez and Morticia, the type you hope that our parents would have displayed. To put it all together, an enormous marriage, obedient children who played with medieval torture devices, a crazy uncle with an explosive obsession, a giant monosyllabic butler who legitimately started a dance craze called the Lurch. It was a rage back in 1965 apparently. Strange creatures like the family pets, Kitty Cat, the lion, and Aristotle, the octopus, and the snazziest, snappiest theme song. It all came up to a marginally successful program that was cancelled after 2 years and 64 episodes. No official justification was ever provided for the rapid hook, but 1965 was the year of NBC produced all but 2 of their shows in color, signaling the end of the black and white era of broadcast television.
Boy, it's a girl.
Go ahead!
What news? Father, what is it?
It's an Addams.
Addams Family could find fresh life in syndication where it would be broadcast endlessly for decades and still is shown in 30 markets as late as 1991. Its cult following increased, leading to a slew of ill-fated revival attempts, including a cameo, new Scooby-Doo movies, various animated series, a horrible 1977 Halloween made-for-TV movie, and oddly, The Ghoulish Brood sprang off the page onto the big screen in 1991, picture directed by Barry Sonnenfeld and starring Raul Julia and Angelica Houston as Gomez and Morticia in the upcoming movie named The Addams Family. Just like anyone who was born after the mid-1990s and 2000s, everybody remembers the movie and adores it. Due to the immaculate portrayals of the characters, Raul Julia is fantastic as Gomez. No offense to Luis Guzman, whose interpretation comes in second after viewing Wednesday, but I honestly believe Julia's rendition will always come first. Fun fact, Cher wanted to play as Morticia Addams in the 1990s film, but the producers always had Angelica Houston in mind. And for the Angelica's portrayal serves no comment because she couldn't be more iconic. Christina Ricci's contribution to Wednesday's characters has greatly aided in the development of original character envisioned by Charles Addams. Addams Family received mixed reviews, but the audience devoured it to the tune of $114 million, making it the year's 7th biggest blockbuster in the United States. Critics were far more enthusiastic with the 1993 sequel, but film bombed, grossing only $49 million. To say the least, my feelings regarding the series are mixed. Tim Burton directed the first 4 episodes of the series, which debuted on November 23rd, 2022. I felt those two things fit nicely together when I first learned he was going to lead the Addams Family. And this was not his first encounter with the franchise. He was rumored to make a stop-motion Addams Family feature, but it never materialized, so he might have been attracted this time with Wednesday series. Even while I was intrigued by the news, I was concerned since his recent releases had the impression that he lost motivation in filmmaking, and I wasn't wholly inaccurate about that. Wednesday is extremely CW-esque, which I despise. At the same time, I enjoy the corniness. In general, I appreciate corniness since I like to switch off my brain once in a while, but this series hindered me from fully enjoying it because the show's dialogue irritates me at times. That's all I can say about Wednesday for now. Thank you for watching and see you next time.